So, thanks to the wonderful reporting done by ESPN's Courtney Cronin and the Vikings releasing their Thursday injury report, we have some news. And I think that this is a topic for Vikings fans in particular that are going to find this interesting because we seem to have come at a crossroads here with Dru Samia, who has been the right guard that we all know and love and can't really understand why he's still getting playing time. I think Sam Monson of PFF said it best is that yes, he is not the starter, he is a backup, he is somebody's backup, but there has to be a backup to the backup. And the fact that he's been in there as long as he has and debilitating the offense, on his own the way that he has, you've got to wonder why they don't have the backup to the backup at least try just to see how bad it is. And for the longest time, we've been speculating that perhaps Dru Samia's backup is atrocious, more so than he is. And that leads us to today's topic, and that being Ezra Cleveland, and the fact that the injury report says the things that it does. So let's begin with the injury report. First, we'll start off with Dalvin Cook, whose groin injury seems to be holding him out of practice consistently. It's his second straight missed day, and I think he's on track to trend down further and be out versus the Falcons. And one of the things of note from Gary Kubiak's interview with the media today is that he had high praise for Alexander Mattison in the sense that when Mattison is in the game, he doesn't have to change his mindset, quote unquote, too much when it comes to offensive scheme and play calling. And I think that's a respectable observation because Mattison does have a lot of similar traits to Dalvin Cook, and I think that's one of the reasons why the team was attracted to drafting him as high as they did a couple years ago. So I'm actually one of the Vikings fans who's pretty confident that having Alexander Mattison as a backup and Mike Boone as well will help us not miss a beat when it comes to Dalvin Cook recovering from this injury. Also notable injuries is Holton Hill has missed 2 straight practices. He was out last week. It looks like he's trending to be out again this week, which is concerning because the Falcons host a stable of really good wide receivers in Julio Jones, Russell Gage, Calvin Ridley. Julio Jones has been on the mend for a number of weeks with the hamstring, but he was out this past Sunday, so he may have been given extra time to rest up for this eventual contest. Jaleel Johnson has been upgraded to limited. KJ Osborne is a second straight did not practice. He's essentially the return man for us right now, so we'll probably be seeing more of Amir Abdullah and Chad Beebe. And we have Chris Boyd, who has downgraded to did not practice, so that is concerning. He'll probably miss his second straight week. Garrett Bradbury and CJ Ham were both upgraded to full. And then the surprise of the day was Dru Samia being added to the injury report after not being on it Wednesday. So he comes in as a did not practice with a wrist injury. Don't know too much about it, but it opened up the door for Ezra Cleveland this past day to get in reps with the first team. And as part of Gary Kubiak's media availability today, he had some good words for Ezra Cleveland, saying that he had a really good practice today. And basically what he's waiting for in terms of Cleveland is just an opportunity to present itself where he can get some actual playing time. So that's a little, you can see where I'm going with this, is we have some conflicting statements where there's high praise for Dru Samia, and there's also a high praise for Ezra Cleveland, as about as high as you can get at this point, I guess. And I think a lot of this is coach speak, and I think the one thing that coaches are very good at is just lying. I don't want to say that as something that's, that they're doing nefariously. They're just very good at not showing their hand. Internally, I'm sure Gary Kubiak and the coaching staff is screaming about how bad Dru Samia has played. And speaking of, Dru Samia, he also had high praise for Dru Samia today, saying that they're likely sticking with him for the Atlanta game, despite him showing up on Thursday's injury report as it did not practice. Maybe they're just keeping him out to preserve him, which is weird. But then again, there's the issue of depth. You can't have too many injuries at one spot and essentially cripple your offensive line even more than it already is. He went on to say that we've got to continue. This is Gary Kubiak speaking, quote, "We've got to continue to grow Dru and have to get to work through some of the mistakes and those type of things. We're also hanging on to the positive things he's done and understand we have a good young player on our hands. We've got to go through some growing pains along the way." So these growing pains are very gigantic and very noticeable. And also there is, I don't know if it's happened yet, but I think Pat Elflein is eligible to be reactivated off the injured reserve So that might be something that happens not this week, but during the bye week, because he hasn't practiced. He's been out for 3 weeks, so I don't think we'll see him again until probably week 8. As far as this week goes, maybe it's finally time for Ezra Cleveland. And the astonishing thing has been he was a second-round draft pick, and he wasn't able to beat out Dru Samia or Dakota Dozier in camp for one of the guard positions. So that is kind of alarming in the sense that he has been, in fact, you can look at the thumbnail and see I used a picture of him from Boise State because there's just no images of him in a Vikings uniform yet outside of non-helmet team practices because he just hasn't been active. So, that's concerning in a sense that maybe his development is way farther behind than we're led to believe. But I guess we'll find out this weekend. The final injury report will come out tomorrow, and we'll see who the starters are. One final note, with Jaleel Johnson being limited in practice, this probably opens up the door for James Lynch to be active again for the second straight week. Got a sack in his first game last week, so that's good to see that he's finally being made available. He's been inactive up until this point. So the storyline continues with the offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings, and I hate it. I hate talking about this. I really do. But this is the world that we live in with this team, and the fact that the offensive line is the biggest weakness, and we have to figure out a way to fix this. And I think we're going to be talking about this well into next summer, once the offseason hits and the draft hits, because it is severely holding everything back. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.